Good morning, Year 9. I hope everyone is keeping well. I just wanted to make this quick video just so I could clearly explain to you the next step of the Portrait Project, which you started around 3 lessons ago. So now up to this point, hopefully you will have carried out some different tests. You will have drawn some different features. I've seen some fantastic work from all different classes in Year 9. I've seen some incredible eyes, noses, ears, we've had some lips and mouths and hair. So that is the point that we are up to with this project now. Now that you've learned all the basic features, you are now going to put that into practice in creating your own portrait drawing. So it's really important in art to learn portraiture because it teaches you a whole range of different techniques, from looking at measurements to looking at tone, shading, and to look at shadows, highlights. And it also is a really, really good tool to be able to progress into different areas of drawing as well. By understanding and being able to draw a basic portrait and understand how something looks realistic, it is then a really, really great tool to be able to look at an abstract portrait, to look at a 3D portrait, to look at a sculptural portrait. So these are the fundamentals of art and they help you build the basic skills. So over the next few weeks, we are going to be drawing a self-portrait. Now, this is something that is quite difficult. It's not the easiest task, and this is why it's very important that you follow this video and you follow the next couple of videos to be able to do this carefully and not at speed. This is not a speed task. This is a precision task. The best portraits at the end will be those that have taken it step by step and taken several hours to complete. So today I am firstly going to teach you how to get started on drawing your portrait. So, you will hopefully have access to this PowerPoint and you'll be able to see some basic tips and tricks, and you can follow this after the video of how to create your portrait and then start adding your features to it. So, what you need to do first is you need to find an image. So you need to find an image of yourself. I've selected this image. It's actually my Facebook profile picture, and on top of the image you can add a filter to it, so they've got to support the NHS one. And I would really, really love it if we could all get on board and create our portrait inspired by supporting the NHS, because we are in a difficult time at the moment, and it's not only something for you to reflect on in terms of your school life and progress, but I think with art it is very important that we draw from our surroundings and our influences around us. That is what makes a great artist, is someone that is able to tell a story through their art. So we are going to draw a realistic portrait. We're going to use just grey pencil to do that. And then you're going to add the support the NHS logo on the bottom. You can add a variation of it. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as this one. You could make it quite unique. You could even put it in the corner of your picture. I don't mind. Mine was generated via Facebook. You can do that as well with your profile picture, or you can just draw a rainbow somewhere that fits in it. But I do want to see all of the features, so the eyes, nose, mouth, eyebrows, ears, hair, etc. in your portrait, and it is going to be a realistic version of your self-portrait. So you can either use a mirror, that could be helpful, or you can take a photo like I'm doing and working from a photo. I think working from a photo is probably easiest because you can go back to it quite easily. Your face, is the same in it. But it is entirely up to you. It is always useful to use a mirror as well. So this is my photo that I am going to use. The next thing that you're going to do once you've taken a photo is make sure that you've got all of the materials set up to get started. Now, I have done some drawings, like I said, of my features from the previous lessons. You might not have drawn your own features. You might have drawn other features. And this is important that we look at this in a bit more detail today. So it might be that on your self-portrait, you might take some extra photos of your eyes, nose, mouth, etc. and have them handy as well. Now, if you're working from your phone, I'm aware that you can actually set your phone screen so it stays on the image and it doesn't click off on the lock screen. So I think you can do that in settings, but have a look online to double check, because then it won't just go off the screen like my laptop keeps doing here when I don't touch it while I'm working. So hopefully now you've got your image set up on your phone or on your computer, you've got your features drawings from last lesson to help you, or you've got access to the PowerPoints that I've had a look at, that I've made and you've had a look at from the lessons that we've done recently. You've also got a ruler. That is quite important to have a ruler today, and I'll tell you why in a minute. You need some pencils. If you've got high quality pencils, fantastic. If you don't, that is fine. You need a rubber, and you'll probably need a sharpener as well, because it's really important when doing a high quality drawing that you have a sharp pencil, because it really helps you get those light and dark tones when you're pressing harder for the dark tones and lighter for the soft tones. So you'll also need your sketchbook or some paper. We are going to start it on A4. However, if you would like to do it on A3, I will say yes, but you will need to spend a bit more time on this task. I'm going to do it on A4 only because that's what most of you have at home in your books or on paper. I prefer it if you didn't do it on lined paper, because it's going to be harder for you as you're going along. If you've got just plain white photocopier paper or your book, that is perfect. So now we've got everything we need. We've got our setup in front of us. We've got our image, our materials, our drawings from last lesson. We can get started. Now, it is always tricky when you are starting to draw a portrait, because you don't know where to start. You worry that you'll do it too small or too big, or that it won't be quite right on the page. This is why within this PowerPoint I've put in some key pieces of information that are useful. If you look here at my PowerPoint, you can see this face here has been gridded up, and some lines have been drawn through it before the features were added. Now that has been done in order for you to follow the proportions of the face. What do I mean by proportions? You might have heard someone say you are in proportion for your height or your age or your weight. Yeah, a lot of people use proportions with height. Proportion basically just means that everything fits in line with the drawing, with your face, okay? It's kind of to do with scale and the body. Everything fits in line correctly, yeah? So this is a really, really useful slide to have a look at. So you can go back and look at this in your own time. As you can see, what's been done is they've drawn just a circle, then they've added a line, another line, then a line below it, and then a line below that. And that is the main structure that we are going to work off today. Now, most people's heads are an oval shape. Because we are working from our own drawing, each of us are going to create something different. Usually when we draw a portrait, what we would do is we would take this, we would observe it for a couple of minutes, look at all areas of it, and then we would scale it up. So we'd measure it, or we'd measure our face, and then we put that onto the page. Now today we're not going to do that because you are working from an image. We are going to, in fact, freehand and make an oval shape, and then we're going to draw some lines using a ruler that are very, very faint, that will get rubbed out at the end. So some things you need to consider when drawing a portrait are making sure that you have got everything in proportion, like I mentioned previously. So you need to make sure that you've allocated space for the head, the eyebrows, the eyeline, the ears, the nose line, the mouth, the chin, the middle of the corner of the mouth, and the nose width. It looks more complicated than it is. If we go back to the previous and drawing the proportions, you will see it's been started by this scale. So this is what we're going to have a look at today. Before we get started with the project though, I would like to share with you some tips and tricks of things that you should and shouldn't do when you are portrait drawing. So, tips and tricks. So when you are portrait drawing, it is really important to work loosely with your pencil. We do not want to have lots of hard, dark lines. So work very, very carefully and almost quite wispily with your pencil. Hold it quite light. That's the first tip. Second tip is don't rub pencil marks on your paper to create the shadows and light and dark areas. Use your pencil to build up the shading. This will look more realistic. I do not want to see people's work where I can tell they've rubbed their finger through the page. That is not the technique that we are looking at. To create a realistic and relatable lifelike portrait, you must use shading with your pencil to create the light and dark tones. It is all about pencil pressure. And you've already practiced this a lot, especially with the tasks that we've done on the features. So you should now be really good at building up the light and dark areas. The next thing is obviously measurements. And I've discussed that we're not going to measure too much today, our features. But if you can see in a photo, or you know you've got one eye slightly larger than the other, or your hairline droops to one side slightly, then you need to counter for this in your drawing, because we would like it to be lifelike. I want this to look like you and have some resemblance. So by looking carefully at these key details, this is how we will achieve this. And this is why that we're going to do each step at a time over each week. The next thing that you need to do is start to see abstractly. So when you are completing a portrait, if we look at this one on the right hand side, we can see they've pulled a face in their portrait. But when I say see abstractly, I mean just see shapes rather than details when you're drawing the outline of things. If you look at the top half of the face here, you can see one side of the face at the top where the hairline starts is quite a bit higher than the other side. And this is what I'm talking about really looking for shapes. This is like an oval kind of shape in the top here. We've got another kind of rectangle at the bottom with a curve. So think about the shapes that you see before you start to run forward and add details to your drawing. I expect you to spend a lot of time drawing each feature, drawing each shape, drawing the outline. And it is all trial and error. It might mean that the first couple of lessons you end up rubbing a lot out, but this is why if you work carefully, you'll find it a lot easier. Even people that are professional artists that draw portraits spend a lot of time going back over them. Yeah, sometimes some shapes are harder to draw than others. So please persevere with this. Don't just settle for anything. Go back to it, rub it out, make an improvement. Another tip that I like to use when I am portrait drawing is I will go back to things. I will start drawing something, and then if I'm not happy with it, I won't just rush forward and continue with my features. I will go back to it. So when I drew these features, I drew them and then I held them away from me even further, took a look from that side, took a different glance, got somebody else to have a look for me. And then I went back and took on board the advice or had a look at my own advice to be able to draw and continue to improve my work. Art is continuously about improving, bettering, and practicing skills. So another tip that I would like to give you, I've given you quite a few now, but another tip I would like to give you is look at traditional art. If you look at traditional art online, you will see a lot of traditional art follows basic portraiture techniques. They look at basic shapes with the eyes, nose, mouth, any features, and the proportions of the face. Always have a rubber at hand. I'm not sure if I've said this one already. It is very useful to have a rubber and a sharpener at hand when you're completing this task. Okay, I think we are set to go now, and I'm going to start to show you how to draw the face, the outline of the face, and then discuss where the features will be positioned on the face. Okay, so I'm now going to start drawing my face, and I'm going to use the method that is shown in the PowerPoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an oval at the top, just like that. So I'm just going to draw an oval, and then I'm going to draw a really faint circle using a sketchy method like so. So as you can see, there's a lot of lines on my page. It does not have to be perfect. this is something that we're going to rub out at the end. So I've just drawn an oval really carefully about in the middle, and I've left some room at the bottom where I will draw the neck and shoulders. So the next thing that you need to do is I've drawn an oval. I'm now going to draw another tiny oval at the bottom, just to elongate my face a little bit. Because the one thing that people don't counter for often when drawing a portrait is the hairline, which comes at the top. So they think, oh, my face is about that long, and then they don't draw the hairline in as well. So I've drawn another oval. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is draw a line down the middle of my page, roughly. So a line down the middle. Again, I'm being really sketchy, and it's not perfect. I'm going to rub this out. This is a grid for being able to build in your features and draw your portrait. The next thing that I need to do is I'm going to draw in another line, and that is going to go through the middle of my page. You can use a ruler if you feel like it's easier. I like to do it like this because I find I work a lot lighter and I don't press as hard. I think if you just act sketchier and more freely with your pencil. So now I've drawn a line across the middle. Now I'm going to draw another line underneath. So I'm going to draw another line underneath, leaving about 3 to 4 centimetres. Let's draw another line underneath, and then underneath that I need to draw another line, and that other line is going to be a little bit wider, more like 4 to 5 centimetres. So so far I've got a line there, a line there, a line there, and then I'm going to draw one more line. You can look at the grid to help you. So we need to make sure that we've got the top of the head, like on here, the top of the head, top of the head. Then I need to make sure I've got my eyebrows, my eyebrow line, ears, nose, mouth, and chin. So on here altogether, you've got one line here, second line, third line, fourth line, and fifth line. So you can label it if you want to as you're going along, so you don't get lost and you remember where lines need to go. So the one line that I haven't added in is the end of my hairline. So I'm going to add that in about a third of the way just down the page. So we've now split our portrait into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So just check it on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could also draw your eye line in if you want to, just above where your nose line would be. So I've just sketched it really roughly, and you can see I've just gone right through my portrait. I'm going to rub it all out at the end, so it doesn't matter. But we should have a number of lines now, and like I said, you can label them. So top of the head you could label, eyebrows you could label, eye line you could label, ears you can label, nose, mouth, and chin, etc. But this is the structure that we are going to work from today. So you can put the date and, well, actually, for this task, I'd rather you not put the date and title in your book. We're just going to get straight on with our portrait drawing today. We're just going to get straight on with that. You can do the activate task underneath the work on the last page, but I would like this to just be a clean portrait, because what I would like to do is when we do finish them in several weeks' time, I'd like to photocopy them and put them up on the wall when we're back in school, because I know they're going to look absolutely fantastic, and it's something that you can keep as well, which is nice. So we are now at the point we are ready to start adding our features in. As you can see, my page isn't particularly neat. It doesn't matter, because we're going to have a rubber and we're going to rub these bits out as we're going along. But this is the structure that you need to follow carefully. Nice light lines with your pencil. No dark lines should be seen. And I should be able to see the individual lines here, using this to help you. So going forward now, what I would like you to do today is, within your lines, you're going to have a go at doing the eyes, and you're going to have a go at drawing the nose. But that is it. All I want you to do today is get this perfect, draw the outline, do the eyes, do the eyebrows, and do the nose. If you've done this correctly in the last couple of weeks, you will realise that it takes you about half an hour just to draw 2 really, really good eyes, maybe longer. So it seems like not a lot to ask of you today, but to get this perfect and to get them in proportion, it is very, very important. Going forward, you're probably thinking, right, well, where do I start now? This is where you need to go back to your image. So this is my image. Now my portrait is drawn slightly off to one side because my ear comes in here. So I need to cater for that. However, for you, as someone that is new to drawing portraits, I would really, really like you to just do a straight on photo, nothing going to the side. So just a face on, head on, straight photo, because you're going to find that a lot easier today. It is important that you do work within these lines. If we go back to our template, we will see the features are positioned within these lines. And things are fairly symmetrical. Now, we don't all have perfectly symmetrical faces, but most of us have faces that most features join up fairly equally. So it is important that you bear this in mind. The other thing that people tend to get wrong is they draw the eyes really, really big, so there's no side of the head left. Make sure that you draw them within the middle of the face, and so there is space between the side of the face and the hair. Make sure they are not too big or too small. Again, you've had plenty of practice drawing features, so hopefully going forward this will be something that is really achievable for you. I would like them to be shaded, so today you should have the outline, 2 shaded eyes and a nose, using this grid method to help you. Don't worry about adding anything else. You can try the eyebrows. I will add some information on how to get those done and building up techniques. It is similar to the hair. It is building up light and dark strands to create the eyebrows. No one has solid, thick eyebrows. They are built up of hair, which is made of thin strands. So please get on with this first step today. The outline of the face, 2 eyes and the nose. And then the next week, I will give you some feedback on how you're getting on. And then we will move on and draw some of the other features onto our portrait. Don't worry about shading the face. That will come in last. Just get your eyes drawn out well, shaded well, and your nose. And you should be constantly looking at your portrait. Obviously, I'm going to have to flick back and forth with mine, but you should be constantly looking at your portrait as you do this to get this done accurately. Really looking at the details. Look at the eyelashes. Look at the black lines really dark within the eye. Look at the lighter areas around the outside. The nose, use this technique, this circle technique that I showed you last lesson. I just wanted to share with you some fantastic features as well that Jessie in Year 9 completed. This is the kind of thing that I'm looking for going forward to be put onto your portrait. Really, really beautiful light and dark tones blended throughout, as you can see in the lips here. Blended through. Practicing the pressure of your pencil. So hopefully now you've got everything you need to get on with this task today. So I wish you all the best and I will speak to you very soon, Year 9. Have a great week.